does it come as a surprise? And two, did his phone call to you that became national news reek of a little bit of desperation that maybe indicates he kind of felt this coming?
I mean, I guess it's fair to draw that conclusion. I don't know at the time if it felt that way to me. It felt more like he had, fully digested the play and wanted to say more about it. I mean, certainly it was highly unusual. That it's probably the first time, probably will be the last time in my career that something like that has happened. But I don't know how much. I don't think his phone call to me factored into this decision. Honestly, I think it was more the history of playoff failures, the feeling that Sean McDermott had taken this team as far as he can go, and that they needed a change in terms of leadership at the top. It feels very similar to when Tony Dungy was let go by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a lot of success regular season and then even into the postseason. I mean, this is a team that has made the divisional round of the playoffs 6 years in a row. That is no small accomplishment at all. But over that time, just 2 appearances in conference championship games, no trips to the Super Bowl, obviously. I think all of that factored into the belief, at least internally, amongst the Bills and Terry Pegula, that Sean McDermott had sort of reached his ceiling as a member of this team, as a leader of this team. And so I think that's what led to this decision. Did Sean McDermott, maybe see the writing on the wall or feel that this could be coming? There could be something to that, certainly. That would be, based on maybe conversations that he had with ownership at times this season. And I think in due time we'll learn maybe a little bit more about that. But to me, this points to a move of an ownership group feeling like the head coach had reached his ceiling with this franchise.
I woke up very surprised to this news. Are you surprised by it, or this isn't even does it make sense? This is, are you surprised that they went ahead and did it?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm borderline. I'm shocked. I am shocked.
Oh, all right.
I mean, I think that Sean McDermott. Listen, Sean McDermott was hired by Terry Pegula before Brandon Beane was hired, right? And so I always thought that that Terry Pegula would lean toward keeping the coach that he brought on. This was the first real major decision. I guess second, obviously Pegula was in charge when Rex Ryan was hired, and we know how that ended, right? And he got it right with Sean McDermott, because for as many faults or flaws that you could say that he had, particularly in the playoffs and coming up short, Sean McDermott restored credibility to a once proud franchise that had really become a laughingstock in the NFL. And the culture that he built is going to, be left behind. And, the way that he navigated some very tumultuous times for this team, Damar Hamlin's situation in Cincinnati being maybe the best example of that, I think was exemplary in a lot of ways. Sean McDermott championed Buffalo and Western New York and the Bills franchise in a way that no coach has probably since Marv Levy. Now I didn't cover Marv Levy, but the way that Sean McDermott spoke about this organization should have made everyone proud to be a Bills fan. And so he did a lot of great things for this team. He had taken them, as I said, to the divisional round 6 years in a row. That is no small accomplishment. So for Terry Pegula to have the fortitude to feel like he has to make this change and then to do it, particularly when you look at the other professional team that he owns in town, and keeping a general manager probably at least 3 years longer than he should have, I'm absolutely shocked that he made this move today.
Yeah, I forgot to even connect the Bills to the Sabres, to be quite honest. It's so jarring to me that this happened, but pretty active stuff going on. A pretty active couple months here, a month and a half at PSE, with taking long-time people and saying, all right, there's been some success, obviously a lot with the Bills and almost none with the Sabres, but I'm ready to make some moves. I'd like to see this all turn around and not just be respectable, but be a real contender. And the Bills have been a real contender. Is this a decision between, in your estimation, and I know this is all fresh to everyone, is this a decision between McDermott and Beane? Was there enough of a rift between the two of them that it was a one or the other situation, and that alone could change the direction of the franchise? Or do you think there was consideration to what am I going to do? Which one am I going to fire? Could it be both? Again, we're just guessing and speculating, but you're pretty knowledgeable about the organization and the way things run and the vibes going on over there. Could this have been a both go at the same time type of thing? Would that have been even more shocking? Or I don't know. I don't know what the exact question is, but the line between Beane and McDermott is kind of what I'm trying to address.
Well, it felt at times this season like there was, I don't know if a rift is the right word, but, certainly there were moves that Brandon Beane made that backfired. I mean, let's be honest, right? And I think a big part of the surprise in this today is that it is, number one, Sean McDermott, and then maybe number two, that it wasn't both of them, right, in terms of being out. Because, a lot of the reaction that I'm getting, and, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you may be a little bit more tied into what social media is saying right now. I've been so busy in just writing, but I'm getting a lot of reaction that they fired the wrong guy type of a thing. And it does feel like, if you were assessing blame for, the state of the Bills roster this year, you would look at some of the personnel moves that Brandon Beane made and not the coaching job that Sean McDermott said. If you wanted to have a conversation about firing Sean McDermott after 13 seconds and that loss, I think I'm all for it, right? Because, that was a coaching failure. I don't know that you can look at what happened in Denver, for example, 2 days ago and say, well, the Bills were out-coached and that's why they lost this game. Now, Sean McDermott was hired, based on his track record as a defensive coordinator. That's what the position that he was in with the Carolina Panthers. In those 6 years, in the divisional round or beyond in the AFC Championship, the defense has given up an average of 33 points in those games. That isn't good enough, right? And so where Sean McDermott's side of the ball, his expertise, has failed the team in the postseason too often. That is absolutely true. Now, it's a separate conversation than Brandon Beane and the decisions that he's made. Brandon Beane's lived off of drafting Josh Allen for 8 years now. He's struggled in a lot of other areas, whether that be in the draft, early in the draft, Kaiir Elam. You can go down the list. Cody Ford is a second-round pick where misses. So that part of this is maybe as surprising as the decision to move on from McDermott is that they're not only they've given Brandon Beane a promotion here. As I'm looking and we're talking, in their team statement, which I'm going to just pull up for you here right now just to see what it says. Brandon Beane is going to serve as the president of football operations / general manager. So they're not only keeping Brandon Beane, they're promoting him. So, to say that is a surprise is a very accurate statement on my part. I'm almost forgetting as I'm doing different things here, but I'm almost forgetting your original question. But yeah, I am surprised that they're not only keeping Beane, that they are going to he's going to oversee this new coaching search.
Yeah, it was this year was the first time I really, because fans call him McBean like it's one thing, and this was the first year where it felt like we should not do that. Whether it goes back to the receiving thing and how Beane reacted after the draft and calling into the radio show and talking about how the defense is the problem, it's not the offense. That sounded like McDermott's the problem, not the offense. And the receiver stuff, and then you think about the way that McDermott reacted after Darius Slay was claimed off of waivers and they lost Jamarcus Ingram and then Slay wouldn't report. This is the first year you started hearing it was never like super finger-pointing, accusatory stuff. But the tone this year, we started hearing things in public where it's like, hey, don't look at me, man. Look at that guy. That's kind of how I felt. So that helps me understand how they make a decision between one or the other. And clearly, Terry sides with the guy who's in the front office as opposed to the guy who's on the sideline. Is it automatic? This will be the last question because I know you're busy, obviously, and I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to have a whole entirely different conversation than this one, and maybe we'll do that soon, but that's not today. Is it a given that this is about not wasting Josh Allen's prime, and therefore when we're looking at candidates to be the head coach, we should much more strongly consider people with an offensive background as opposed to a defensive background? Is that a given?
Yes,
okay.
100%. I mean, maximizing Josh Allen's prime, what's left of it, has to be the sole focus of this coaching search. You don't make this move unless it's for that reason. I would add to this that I almost wonder if Josh Allen was, I don't want to say consulted on this, but I would imagine that he was made known of it, maybe at least before it went down. You almost think that a move like this, a franchise-altering move like this, probably isn't made unless the starting star quarterback is on board with the decision. That, to me, leads you to a path of you're either going to hire the youngest, brightest offensive mind that you can, or you're going to try to hire a head coach with a Super Bowl winning pedigree or maybe Super Bowl experience on his roster. It is a bit premature to kind of have that list of candidates. We'll see where that leads us here in the next 24 or 48 hours or so. But you start to wonder who is going to replace Sean McDermott. And for this move to succeed, it has to be that you maximize what you have left of Josh Allen's prime. And so for that reason, I fully expect that it is going to be, as I said, either an offensive-minded head coach who is new to the position, or it's going to be somebody with experience, and I'm talking Super Bowl experience, who Beane and Terry Pegula now believe can get them over the finish line, and by that I mean past the AFC Championship game to the Super Bowl.
I thought you were going to say, and by that I mean Mike Tomlin, but could have gone either way there. Dable's a name that's going to come up for sure in conversation. Tomlin's going to come up. Kurt Cignetti is coaching tonight. There have been rumblings about NFL possibilities for him. I thought they sounded stupid. They now sound much more intriguing now that the Buffalo job is open. I'm just speculating, and that's all we're all going to do for a little while. But you've got work to do. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk for a longer period. I still want to know how freaky it was to get that phone call and how weird, like that whole process. We could do 20 minutes on just that. I'm so interested in it, but now's not the time. We'll talk to you soon, Jay. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy your work. Enjoy today. Happy Monday.
Yeah, we'll do this again when my mind is a little bit more focused on everything. But yeah, happy to join you anytime, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. There's Jay Skurski from the Buffalo News. He's at Jay Skurski. I made the cool graphic. We couldn't not have him on after I made the graphic. This was supposed to be Jay is on vacation now. They cleaned out the lockers. He gets to take a break. He works and slaves over this football thing, and then it goes away, and then so I put Jay on the beach. Thanks, AI. Looks just like him. They cut off the sleeves. They did that to Scott Wilson on his graphic, too. I don't know why they think everybody wants to wear Belichick-type sweatshirts. Why does AI think that?